Welcome to the Restaurant Magazine and Big Hospitality podcast. I'm Stefan Homke, editor of Big Hospitality, and for this episode, I'm joined by Vice President of Food Service at Arla Foods, Jonathan Dixon. Jonathan is here to look into his crystal ball and discuss food and restaurant trends for 2021, particularly the continued consumer demand for more sustainable products. Jonathan, thanks for joining me today. Let's start, as is so often the case these days, with the current pandemic. How has it changed people's attitudes towards sustainability? And what will they be demanding from restaurants and producers in 2021?
Yeah, well, what a year and into 2021 we've gone. It's been a huge kind of challenge for the sector, but despite the mayhem, sustainability is still really important for consumers. And it's all around building trust and trust in supply chains and trust in restaurants. Sustainable demand, consumer demand for sustainable ingredients is up nearly 52% year on year. So we know that sustainability is still really important to consumers. In regards to restaurants, it's about clarity on where their food comes from, food quality, and food sourcing strategies. In regards then to farmers and producers, it's about making sure we've got a transparent supply chain with really kind of clear requirements on animal health and welfare.
Indeed. I mean, and I know you're talking a lot about sustainability there. I mean, it's interesting that, Michelin has acknowledged sustainability as quite a key thing with restaurants with their green stars. I mean, that must be something that, do you think that's something that people are going to look at and even bring sustainability even more to the fore now?
Absolutely, and it's something that we kind of really welcome. When we saw those announced, it's a really positive step forward to make sure that food's not only just of the high quality, but actually it's produced and grown and served in a sustainable way. So I can only see that gathering pace and momentum as we move throughout this year and into next. Sure.
And what about animal husbandry and animal welfare? There seems to be a demand for people for restaurants and for suppliers and all along the supply chain to be looking after their animals and to be promoting the better quality husbandry. What has Arla been doing in this regard?
Well, essentially, I think you need to go back to the fundamentals of Arla. So we are a farmer-owned cooperative, so owned by 2,500 dairy farmers and their families. So farmers and effectively cows are at the heart of what we do. So really making sure we've got the highest on-farm standards and really treating the animals with care and attention is critical. We've got a farm standards program called Arla Garden. We've got new initiatives called Arla 360, which is really looking at leading edge innovation on all farming methods and standards. Animal welfare is directly linked to efficiency, and it's also directly linked to sustainability. So the happier and healthier the cows are, the more efficient and more sustainable they will be as well. So actually, it's really at the heart of everything we're about.
Sure. I mean, do you think the pandemic will have an even bigger impact on this? Because obviously, there's still uncertainty about where the pandemic came from, but there's talks about, the supply chain in China. And do you think people are even more concerned now about what they're eating, what they're putting in their bodies, and how well looked after animals are within the chain?
Absolutely, and we've seen over the numerous years, whether it's horse meat scandals or coronavirus, transparency and understanding where your food comes from has never been more important, and really having that demand for clear labeling and also on menus, sustainable sourcing, local sourcing, the emergence and growth of organic. So all of these things will play a role in terms of what consumers want, but it never has it been more important for restaurants and supply chains to be really transparent about their food sourcing credentials.
Indeed. And another thing that has kind of been gaining momentum over the last couple of years, led by straws, but has moved on from that. There's been a need for a reduction in food and packaging waste. I mean, this looks set to continue for this year. What is Arla doing in these areas, and what future initiatives might you be having in the pipeline?
Well, from a packaging waste point of view, we've got lots of significant commitments in terms of, whether it be having recycled content in our milk bottles, for example, making sure all our packaging is recyclable by the end of 2021. We are looking at how we grow and increase the amount of energy that we use from renewable sources. Really developing and promoting a circular economy is I think the key to sustainability and the environmental impact long term. So how can we work with our customers and the restaurant trade about recycling things, reducing the packaging and reducing the impact on the environment.
And are you seeing more of your restaurant customers and more of industry, demanding or asking for ways to cut packaging and for you to help them in the reduction of packaging?
Absolutely. So clearly, if there's any unnecessary packaging, let's just remove it as long as the product is still fit for purpose and safe. Again, if products can be recycled or made with recycled content, or if there can be alternative sources rather than plastic. So there are lots of different things that we're looking at from a packaging point of view, and I only see that trend set to continue.
And one other area that looks to continue to grow this year and possibly further on is the vegan movement. I mean, how was that movement impacted on the dairy category? And what developments have been made in the dairy to retain and inspire dairy consumers?
Yeah, it's undeniable that there are an increased number of people that are widening their diet and changing their diet, and there will be the hard vegans, and clearly they won't buy dairy for a variety of different reasons. But that's their choice, and we're okay. Absolutely, that's their decision. And our strategy and focus has got to be really promoting dairy as a balanced diet, a balanced part of the diet, as part of the Eat Well plate, building immunity. Dairy has got some fantastic properties, so really driving consumption in young people as well. But really, it's about inspiring consumers on recipes, promoting the health benefits, and also, with the growth and rise of flexitarianism, it's around how do we get dairy kind of more centre of plate, and that's where the innovation that we're looking at, rather than just being an ingredient, and it can be then very commoditized. But actually, what we're looking at from an Arla Pro point of view is really looking at the future and how can we get a range of products out there that are focused towards those flexitarian consumers that. They might be reducing down the amount of meat that they eat, but actually they can still get a great balanced diet and the nutrition they need from dairy.
Okay, and obviously, I think again, all roads go back to the pandemic. But do you think that the pandemic has made people more aware of the need for healthy eating? Obviously, health is a key issue because of the pandemic over the last 12, 13 months. Is this going to continue this year? And how are you looking to build on this if it is?
Well, I think people have had the opportunity to take a look at them and reevaluate themselves and what they eat and how they eat it. And the wellness trend continues to grow, whether that's physical, mental or nutritional health. I think we're all, after a tough year for everyone, we're all looking at how we ensure that wellness is right at the top of the agenda, whether that be in the workplace or alternatively what we're putting inside our bodies. Sure.
And there's also another school of thought that says that while at the moment people are looking after themselves because they're trying to avoid catching coronavirus or they're recovering through it, once lockdown lifts and people have had the jabs, or people might really want to go out, they might want to indulge, they might want to eat in fine dining restaurants, they might want to absolutely indulge in all the foods that they haven't been able to eat for the last 12 months or so. Do you think that there's going to be a growth in comfort food and people really going out and going mad when back in restaurants?
Look, it's a really difficult question to predict in terms of consumer trends. I certainly, if we were sat here 12 months ago, we wouldn't have predicted the year that we've had. But there's going to be a balance, and there's going to be a variety of people doing lots of different things. Whether that be how quickly consumers return to the restaurant trade and sector. I know there is pent up demand to get out there and eat out again. We saw that through the Eat Out to Help Out scheme last August, where we saw some strong year-on-year growth. And as hopefully now we're coming, there's light at the end of the tunnel, and I guess the real wish from a manufacturer and from a farmer point of view is that the restaurant industry does recover and rebound strongly, because essentially it's part of the UK society to go out, to socialise and to eat great food. So personally, I'm looking forward to going back into pubs and restaurants and socialising and society coming back. And I think that's what makes it such a great country.
And one final question: it's been well documented that how the impact, how severe the impact of coronavirus has had on the restaurant sector. Obviously, restaurants have been closed for a large amount of time during these last 12 months. But it's also hit the whole supply chain. Suppliers to the restaurant industry have also struggled and been hit very hard. Do you think that once restaurants reopen and the industry gets back to normal, there will be a better relationship either needed or just wanted between suppliers and restaurants because of the challenges that they've collectively been through, and because of the way restaurants and suppliers have helped each other during these tough times?
Yeah, and absolutely. And I think, in a way, the pandemic has brought the country together, and I think that's the same for the supply chain. If you're working with organisations and operators and that you've worked with for many years, and they give you 24-hour notice that they're closing down, that they're shutting restaurants, you do need to work together. You do need to understand what goes on, and it does bring that realisation and that closeness between the supply chain, and I think we've kind of had a mentality of being in it together, and that will continue as the demands fluctuate, to understand how consumers do come back to restaurants. So we need to work closely with our partners and operators as the society reopens, but also tackling some of the big challenges of health and sustainability. We need to do that. We need to do that together as well. So I very much see it working in partnership.
Yeah, well, let's hope that some good comes out of this pandemic once it's all over. Jonathan, thank you very much for joining me today. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you very much.
That was the Restaurant and Big Hospitality Podcast with me, Stephen Homke. Thank you for listening.